Hey there, awesome person. It's the voice of Bob, here again to tread the trail of trepidation is found in the far-off regions of the internet. Now, sit back, relax, adjust those listening ears of yours, and I'll catch you in just a moment. Sounds powerful, doesn't it? We're definitely getting into something heavy here. Absolutely. Thanks for joining us for Other People's Mistakes. This is the channel devoted to highlighting the best of the worst ideas imaginable, as recounted by the internet's correspondence of creepy. Our tale this time comes courtesy of the NoSleep subreddit, authored by Reddit user Mistaken Noises. The title of our story? Grandma's Lovely Biscuits. Here we go. Blindly, I'll always somehow find myself at my grandmother's little inn down the road from my sweet little coastbound house up here in Connecticut. It's not like I'll have her forever, so I try to make the best of the time she has left. And if you knew why I loved this place so much, you'd travel near and far just to get a look at it. The inn is small, nothing special from the outside. Hell, it doesn't even have its own name. Grandma didn't even want to put a name up at first, saying it wouldn't feel as homelike as she'd want. I convinced her otherwise after a week without having anybody to serve. I couldn't see my dear grandma upset, so I offered to put it up myself. She obliged, thankful she didn't have to do it herself. Sadly, she still felt wary over the idea. The inside is what'll kill you. Cramped, yes, but my does it feel like a place you'd want to lay your head. Everything is warm, coming from the grand fireplace in the corner where she used to settle up heaving pots of cocoa for me and my many siblings. The furniture is very outdated for the times, but what guest wouldn't want to get an aesthetic picture up in front of all these wonderful decorations they'll get praise for, not caring about the strict photography rule? Grandma has many, many rules. They feel as they have only been created to suit her own needs, and not that of the workers or patrons. But hey, I guess that it works for her. Besides the ruckus these rousy adults can cause, that's not what I find the most unsettling. The kitchen. I've always had a strong hatred for it, and I haven't exactly noticed why my feeling was off since a week or so ago. This story will sadly start with one of my most favorite, mouth-watering delicacy of my grandma. Her biscuits. Holy stuff, these things used to make me warm to the core, even at the thought of them. They were silky, layers crisp from all the butter folding. Grandma tried to show me and my family how to make them, but even today it seems impossible. Its technique is difficult, making me wonder how this little Italian lady, prone to being impatient, can even handle it. Must be the end product, though they feel to have gotten worse over the years. Don't get me wrong, I know what age can do to the mind, but Grandma had been doing so well over these years and didn't seem to be losing anything yet. So it made me question what was going on. How could they have decreased in their flavor? Grandma was a perfectionist. She would kill any of us if we tried even to claim our biscuits, once finished after a good 20 times, were the same. Too little salt. Don't be afraid of flavor. I can still hear her yelling that at my poor father, not wanting to make his pastry to taste like the back end of some uncooked salmon. It was around the time when the biscuits went wrong that the kitchen and fireplace began to reek of death, smelling like the decaying animals Father used to run over, finding it some fueling game. No, the story isn't about him. I'll continue. Guests began to complain, begging for refunds after little less than a night's stay at the place. Grandma got these air diffusers, washing out much of the smell for the people who would sleep there for a night on their travels. But it was worse for me. She didn't put any fresheners in the kitchen, so my nose was constantly clogged by the smell, making me grow sickly. Grandma didn't seem to notice, going on with everything she usually did. It was like she wanted me to be ill. Everything was wrong. I should have caught on by then that Grandma wasn't the honest, kind lady that she was seen to be. No, I didn't know. I couldn't have known of the horrors that she had completed in one tiny closet. The closet. God, the closet. Grandma used to send me to the closet as punishment when I'd take too much from the guest little buffet, or hit my siblings if they angered me. I'd be in there for hours, staring up at all the spices and sugars. The feeling of them toppling over and cracking into my skull never left my poor 11-year-old mind. She can't do anything like that now as I'm older. It's like she worries about me looking in there, adding to almost each task that involved me entering the kitchen alone. "My dear, please don't enter the closet without Grandmama's permission. We don't want anything falling on you." Now she worries about things falling on me? How about when I was 6, climbing up half the thing before I was caught, almost sailing to the floor? I lost a tad bit of respect for her then, but then my mind was washed. Biscuits. Fresh out of the oven. I couldn't help myself, dissolving deep into the layers of butter and crispy edges, burning a hole in the worried thoughts. It was like some sort of drug, blinding me from the truth of how shady it was. Grandmama, that's what she would call herself. I remember my little cousin repeating to her the name at age 3, unable to grasp that was not what the rest of us called her. She took on the name, forcing all of us to call her it in her presence. It was sweet, but the name was awkward to say when I was trying to talk about my family to friends while there. I remember being 9, trying to impress some girls I had become acquaintances, when out comes Grandma, a tray of her fine pie on her head, shouting, "Grandmama's here, dear! Come get Grammy Pie!" I almost couldn't forgive her for it, but hey, Grammy Pie is not something you could turn down. With my surprise, I somehow made it to the point where these people were my friends. It was an absolute score. Oh golly, I've been rambling on. I should get on to why I'm here. I've seen bodies. Hundreds, it seems. I can't count them anymore. They pile each time I go to this damn closet. I remember there being 15 the last time I counted, stacked up on each other like some sort of crude Jenga. I can't even say they're really bodies anymore. No, just badly superglued pieces of burnt bone stacked into each other, making badly made skeletons. They look like the deformed ones Miss Smith used to put out, the props Mr. Jackson had splintered into fragments after a hit to her tree with his old John Deere. This is where the smell was coming from. The pieces, most likely burnt from the outside in the big fireplace, removed just before the bones could be engulfed. It had to be happening at night, the peak time for Grandma to start on her famous biscuits. It had to be some sort of lie. Instead of buttering biscuits, she was butchering bodies. I regret my next action to the day. I decided to search around the containers that sat themselves around the room. Everything seemed normal. The sugar's thin and grainy, the butter sitting out on the counter in its cute little dish, and the spices all at a perfect grind. Bile swarmed to my mouth as I reached the flour. This was not flour. It was ashes. I had been eating the remains to dead patrons for the past year, and I hadn't known it. Christ, what had I done? Patrons who disrespected her in the establishment must have gotten on Grandma's nerves, forcing her to go on this damn spree. Her rules. My lord, these poor people, sentenced to death for not following stupidly put-together rules. I might have been slightly better if I hadn't had eaten anything from her. I didn't consume much other pastries, only the fresh beef and beans she had crafted up the money for a while back when business began to boom. Ever since then, she's been putting up more expensive, lighter meals for her guests, but hey, who couldn't love a family favorite? But there was one thing I had eaten that there had to have been set ashes in, and you know full well what those are. The biscuits. I've seen her every day after classes scooping the flour from that old china pot Grandpa had gotten her years ago out into the biscuit batter. I thought because of the poor candle lighting she preferred over actual lamps in the main dining area and kitchen was the reason to its off-coloring. But now, I've seen I'm gruesomely wrong. They look like ashes you'd see in a little vase after a family member had been cremated. I've sadly seen a few of those. My family's prone to illness. But that doesn't matter now. I had been eating innocent people under my own eyes, and my grandma is going to get away with this. I should call the local police, have them come fly her away to a life sentence. But I just can't. This is the lady that has brought me up into the lovely person I am now. I just can't do it. It would feel wrong. So I will keep this secret. I'm warning you, with whatever you do, please, for the love of God, If you are ever finding yourself up in the winding streets up in the town of Mystic on some sort of visit, I warn you to keep in mind manners around my dear grandma if you happen to stay at her warm, inviting inn. You may find yourself in the next biscuit I'll have to consume. Ugh. So that's the story, and man, that was creepy. Not gonna lie, OP had me in the first half. There were some family recipes that came to mind as I read the story, although none of them ended like that. And I wouldn't have thought twice about eating them. But now? Ooh. How about you? I mean, you probably don't have questionable ingredients near you, but in hindsight, I'm curious, what's the creepiest thing you've had to eat? Do us a favor, let's have your thoughts dropped in the comments below. Anyway, that's all for now, but hey, if you find a great story and think we should make a video about it, drop us a comment or message us directly. Our links to your favorite social media platforms are probably down in the description below. As with any YouTube channel, please feel free to like and subscribe, but more importantly, let your friends know what you learned from other people's mistakes. Thanks for being awesome.